Good morning and welcome to Math Tea UK. Today I'm going to be making some continuous loops out of 1/8 Amstel. I do have some, I have plenty already. However, I have picked up my first subscription. So Nobby Brava Alpha, thank you very much for subscribing. I didn't expect that. It wasn't something I went in for, was the numbers. It was just sharing the love, you know. And so thank you for subscribing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a couple of loops here today. What I'm going to do then is ask you, if you wish, to drop me a PM and give me an address to send them to, and I will put them in a post for you, and you can have yourself some continuous loops. I will also throw in some rings for you as well, so you can decide which way, whether you're going to use straps or whether you want to use some whoopee slings that you may want to make yourself later on. But thank you for subscribing and welcome to the channel. Thank you. Okay, let's have a look at, first of all, the equipment we need to make our continuous loops. Well, we need our tape measure, we need our Amstel, we need a sharp knife, some copper wire, a prodding tool, and a Sharpie, and for me, I have a little base to cut on. On some videos you'll see people using knitting needles and all sorts of fancy tools, and that's absolutely fine, but unfortunately I don't have knitting needles. Now my Amstel is already cut, and if we're going to make some 8-inch continuous loops, then we need to start off with about 28 inches of Amstel. So these are already pre-cut, and we mark off 28 inches and get a sharp knife and cut them off, and here I have my two already marked. Now the reason we use 28 inches is because we need 16 inches for the continuous loop, and the rest is taper and bury, and I will explain a little bit more about that later, but you don't really need to know too much about that. You just need to know that you need 28 inches to start with. Okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is taper our ends to make sure that we can feed it through with the fish tool nice and easy later. So the first thing is to taper our ends, and we come back about 1 inch from the end of our Amstel, and we grab one of the strands using our little prodding tool, and we pull out that fibre. Now you can either do this 3 times or you can either do this 4 times. It is entirely up to you how many strands you pull out. I'm going to go for 4. And now we need to cut those off with a knife. Now the reason we do the taper is to make it easier to use our fish tool later and pull these ends through the Amstel itself. Now I'm going to do the other side. Now we have our 2 Amstel lengths with both tapered ends. Okay then, so we're going to go and make our continuous loop. There's one I made earlier. That's what it ends up looking like, and here we go. First thing we need to do is find our end and measure off 5 inches from the end. That gives us a 100mm berry, and also allows for the tapered end to be lost inside of the berry, and also allows for the expansion of the Amstel as well. So mark off 5 there, flip it over, mark off 5. There. Now it doesn't have to be exactly to the millimetre, it just helps if the more accurate you are. Okay, that's the technical side done. Now we're going to use our fish tool, or in my case our piece of bent over copper wire, and we're going to separate our arm steel at our marked 5-inch point. I'm just going to zoom in now for that, just so as you get a little bit of a closer look at it. This can be a little bit fiddly, but the most important thing to remember here is do not pull out any separate strands. We need to make sure that we go right between the existing strands, equally through the arm steel, not damaging anything along the way. So there we go, that's not pulled any other strands with it. So we've gone through now. We're going to take our longer end and using our tapered end, feed our tapered end through our fishing tool and pull that through our marked spot, like so. There we go. Now what we need to do is, before we pull our second marked area, well, that's the second point I marked with the 5 inches, we're going to do the same again. Alright, so this time push the arm steel together, work it loose, manipulate your fish tool through without picking up any loose ends, that's fine. And now we're going to gather this end and place our taper through there and pull it through. We should be left now with something that looks similar to that. And what we need to do is pull our knots together till they're nice and tight. Like so. If we pull that apart, they'll separate again. I'm not going to pull it, there you go. All that remains to be done now is bury these ends into our remaining piece of arm steel. Now what we need to do is follow the contour of the arm steel round and give us at least another inch. It's important. If you don't allow that extra inch, these tails will stand through the arm steel and look a bit untidy. So give yourself another inch, maybe even more if you wish, it's up to you. As long as your fish tool is long enough to work, that's the important thing. I'm going to turn that round now, because I'm going to fish this fish tool all the way in through the arm steel up to our joined ends. This can be tricky sometimes, and it just takes a little bit of practice, but once you get there, it's not too bad. Now when we come up near our knot, we just pop it out, I don't know, 5mm short of the actual knot itself. Just pop it out like that. Grab your tapered end, push it through the fish tool, squeeze it tight, and this sometimes is the most trickiest because you've got to get this working, and if you didn't taper your ends now, this would be very difficult to get this to pull through. So that's why it's important that we do have our taper. So just going to wiggle and twist until that starts to bury itself, and here it goes. You can see it starting to slide in now. Just be patient, and then there we are. Just pull that nice and tight, so it's nice and tidy at the end there. And all we need to do now, holding on to our knot end, is just push the arm steel back down until our gathered end hopefully disappears inside. Ooh, see, there you go. That's what happens if you don't give it enough. Come on baby, in you go. Bang. Now that was just and only just got lost inside there, but you can see why it's important to make sure that you give yourself enough room to lose. So let's do the same on this side. There she goes. Plenty. And then we have our continuous loop. Now, when we gather our end of the hammock and our continuous loops are now through the hammock, like you've seen in my earlier videos, like that, we can now attach our rings, or that's if you want to use whoopee slings, or if you wanted to use straps. You could do the same again and use double rings. And that's it. That gives you a very versatile, very usable piece of equipment. So, that's it. Nobby, if you want to send a PM with a postal address, and I will happily send these on to you. Thank you for subscribing. I really do appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you all in the future. Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye. That is quite satisfying.